Hey, Dan.
Hey,
Here we go. We're going to get it one way or another.
right on. That's awesome. That's great. It's awesome to be able to see each other's faces too.
It is nice. It is nice. This is how I teach classes, so it's pretty cool. We
Yeah,
maybe if we keep getting censored like this, we'll just have to keep doing it like this.
yeah. Hey, Colin.
Switch together right there.
Good to see you. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah,
This is
like
so crazy.
yeah,
Beautiful.
but Chas, thanks for being so patient, and you kept the fort very well there.
Thanks. This is so great. Okay. Thank you for that, Colin.
Well, I'll mute
This
myself
is
off, but
all right.
wonderful to be on Zoom with you guys.
Yeah, nice to see you. This can be great to see everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign up for your classes too, Colin. Um, in fact, I'll do it today.
Oh, great. Well, Dan, and if you have any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to discuss, feel free to contact me.
I will. I will
Yeah,
definitely. Definitely.
yeah. Just bear in mind, I'm in South Africa, which is an 8-hour difference, time difference, 8 or 6 hour time difference. Yeah,
Okay. Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
great. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Colin. Well
Hi.
done, everybody.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
Nothing like
Your
a bit of perseverance.
Yes.
Yeah, what I was going to share tonight, what I am going to share tonight is some really deep information because everybody wants to know what's going on, and people can say what's really going on, and it's very complex, So I'm going to deal with the complexities tonight, both on planet and off planet, so people
Beautiful.
understand that this whole operation that's going down is way bigger than we can even imagine. And it affects not only the people of Earth, but it affects many other different ET groups who've been involved in this planet for, over nearly 500 million years. And it goes all the way back to a little planet or a big planet called Tara, which is in the constellation of Andromeda. And uh, uh, competing groups there, two competing groups, the Lanians and the Murians, blew up Tara. Now, people say, how do you blow up a planet? Because people don't understand that planets have energy grids, ley lines. And on a normal planet, energy is provided to the inhabitants of the planet through the electricity generation systems that are produced through pyramids. And these pyramids are on ley lines around the planet, and the one pyramid passes the energy over to the next, and they form a grid. And so what they did is they over, now the grids are not just above the earth, the grids are also underneath, underground in the earth. So what they did, that they over-energized the planetary grids of Tara that caused Tara to explode. And the 15 bits of Tara, or the 12 bits of Tara that exploded, were blown into a wormhole and came out through the wormhole into our solar system. And that was, 500 million years ago. And ever since then, Earth has been the stage for this big drama that's going on that is intergalactic and it's universal. So it's a very big story, but tonight I thought what I'd like to do is just speak about complexities of what is going on, and then look at likely scenarios of what people are going to experience. when this pandemic started in January, February of 2020, I was not surprised at all, because it was something that I was expecting, and I told everybody what was happening in February. I said it came from a lab in Wuhan. It's a man-made virus. It's and the plan was to get everybody vaccinated on this planet so that they could become AI. It's part of the AI agenda, artificial intelligence, to turn humans into artificial intelligence beings. And by getting the vaccination now, we've all seen the graphene oxide in the vaccine provides a magnetic field in the body to attract 5G, waves into the body, into the brain. And it's really is, they're experimenting with humans, and they have experimented with humans for, thousands of years. And this is
Right.
just another experiment, but there is an intervention going on as well. So let's just give it a few more minutes and I'll get into it and see people are still
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, people are still coming in. I'm still posting. So, Colin, it's making me think about when we talk about Tara, and I know I want to see if we'll be able to fit this into the conversation, and how those parts were exploded and turned into our planets. How do we bring in the memories and the ideas of Tiamat? Tiamat being the mother goddess planet of all planets, who really was like, I don't really know how to explain it, as my memories are still coming in from this, but it was like Tiamat was like the sister planet, so to speak, of Tara. So I don't know time-wise how we look at this time-wise, if Tiamat exploded prior to Tara, and it's like the Tiamat pieces I see as the Dark Mother that got twisted into the Dark Mother energies that they used on planet Earth as the goddess energies. So when they kind of bastardized the whole idea of who and what the mother is, and so how does that fit in, or is that not time to tie in to the Tara explosion pieces and the ley lines?
It doesn't directly fit into that narrative, but that narrative happened a long time before Tara.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Tiamat,
Yeah.
because Tiamat was like the birth of the interplanetary marauders. Okay, there's a bunch of beings that were part of what they called the fall. Now, when we speak about the fall, there wasn't just one fall, there were many falls.
Yeah.
The Bible speaks about the fall, and that was not the fall. The fall happened a long, long time ago in other time-space continuum, really, and it didn't happen on Earth. And in a sense, as above, so below. So everything that happens in the universe creates a vortex of replication. So it sends a signal out that goes out. So you have history that just keeps repeating itself until that history can be changed and altered. Now, history can be changed and altered, through, we've talked about it before, about timeline merging and collapsing timelines and then merging a new timeline into an old timeline. And it's about matching the frequencies of the timeline and matching, but it's complex in the sense that there are many, I don't know if you've seen these big conduits with wires in them that go through buildings to link up all the various computer operation systems in the building. You know, they're literally, over 100 wires in that tube that goes down, and that these all connect to different computers and different systems, and so in a sense that's how the universe kind of works, in that it collects information and distributes information. So it comes in and goes out all the time. But but that gets into some technical stuff.
Yeah, it does. It does. I can't wait to hear about the ley lines in Earth. Yeah, if everybody wants to take an opportunity to just mute themselves, that would be amazing. Normally I could do it. You guys would not even believe like what this techie stuff has just been crazy. Okay. The ley lines above planet and the ley lines within the planet. I'm really curious how you see and experience those, and for people to understand what that's like. You know, and how do they run through the body too? How do the ley lines run through us? I think is really fascinating and helps understand more. If we can get an idea of the mapping of this, it's going to help us understand what trajectory we want to be on, and where we need to clear our own bodies. And when we clear our own bodies, how that helps humanity.
Yeah, there are many maps available online about the geometry of ley lines, and where the fallen ones, the Anunnaki, took over this planet in 27,000 years ago. They actually corrupted the Earth's ley line systems and its grid systems, and because what they did is they brought in a false moon that tilted the Earth at 23.4 degrees on its axis. So you have the Earth rotating at one axis, and you've got the magnetic fields rotating at a different axis, and that created an energy wobble. Now, how does it work? Because when the Earth was originally formed, its magnetic fields were north-south, and its rotational axis was north-south. You tilt the Earth off its axis, it changes the geometry of the ley lines around the planet. And that's how we lost our contact with the universe, because the universe couldn't directly, we couldn't connect directly with the universe and other beings in the universe anymore. Because of our energy system. It's like having a cell phone system, you know, that works perfectly, and then you get some other beings who come and take over the cell phone system and change the cell phone system. And so now the information coming in and the ability to transfer information is then corrupted, or it's like we have now the cancel culture, it's banned. It's prohibited, and certain information can't be talked about. And so everything comes under the central control of the controlling group of fallen angelics. Who, now when I speak about the fallen angelics, they're made up of a large collective of beings. They're not all the same. You know, you get Lucifer, who was the original started the fall. He was what they called not an avatar, a rishi.
He was the resident badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He wasn't.
Yeah, he was about to make entry from dimensions 12, 13, or 14 into the God, dimensions 11, 10, 11, and 12 into the God worlds. But he decided that he didn't want to enter the God worlds. He rather wanted to recreate his own universe. So Lucifer then conscripted many other beings who felt the same, that they didn't need the universal order anymore. They had enough technical knowledge to be able to create an alternative reality, an alternative universe. So they became the marauders, and that all started with Tiamat. where in our galaxy, these marauders began to invade different star systems and solar systems, like our solar system was attacked by them, 20, well, it goes back further. It was 125,000 years ago that they first entered our solar system. But first they blew up Malbec, which using the same overloading of the planetary grids, they blew up Malbec, which now is the asteroid belt. And they sent off another planet, that's a neighboring planet called Planet X. It's Nibiru. And Nibiru got sent off its trajectory, or its its transverse plane around the sun, and it got blown off into at the same angle, incidentally, as the corrupted angle of the Earth's tilt. So what they did,
ironically enough,
they used Nibiru as part of their broadcast system to take over the energies of the planet. Now, it's like they took over the information exchange. It's like a cell phone system. They just changed the towers of the cell phone system onto a different frequency. And so the entire knowledge base of Earth was changed and put under control. Okay, that's part of it, and so that gives you something of the history of this. If anyone has a question, would like to know more about things, then please go ahead and stop me, and I'll explain.
Yeah, were the is Nibiru, there's some questions that come up with, is Nibiru coming back into our solar system? And if so, does that cause any type of catastrophic event? There's also a thought of, it's also making me wonder, was Nibiru, or the Nibiruans, did they make a deal, some type of deal with the Syrians?
Not with the Syrians. They made a deal with the fallen angelics.
Okay, and so that would go into, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's, Nibiru has a cycle of about 6,500 years around. When it blew out into space, it then was attracted into the gravitational fields of Earth's binary star.
Mm-hmm.
Every star system, there are
suck my energy out.
There are two stars.
I do not consent to energy sucking. If you want to work on me out of love and light, great.
Can everybody take an opportunity to mute their just to mute their telephones or any of their devices that they're on, please? Let's see.
Yeah, we had a new person come on, Karen. I don't know which Karen that is, but okay, so you get this planet going out as a trajectory, and it's now rotating around our binary star, the sun's binary star called Nemesis. And every 6,500 years, it comes back into the Earth's solar plane, in the solar plane of the planets in Earth. And every time it comes back, it brings back with it all the debris that it's carrying with it. Because when Malbec blew up, okay, and Nibiru went off in a trajectory, it carried a lot of the debris with it. So the debris was attracted into the gravitational fields of Malbec, and it goes out off into the on this plane, this trajectory at 23.4 degrees to Earth's solar plane. And every 6,500 years, it comes back again. And every time it comes back again, it brings all that debris with it that becomes the meteor showers we have. And those meteors often create great disruption of Earth. Also, Nibiru is 33 times larger than Earth. So it also creates havoc with other planets in our solar system because of the gravitational pull of Nibiru. So when it's on its way back, there will be a lot of it will affect all the gravitational fields of the planets in the solar system, and it takes, and Nibiru is due to come back here in about 2045. So part of the rescue plan is to get the people of the planet back onto another trajectory that would prevent it from experiencing the harm from that comes with Nibiru coming back.
Mm-hmm.
That's one aspect.
That is, yeah, that's one aspect that takes me into like, gosh, was that part of what created the gravitron? Gave them gave them the full reign to create the gravitron, and then the beast machine, and moving into all thinking about how they've anchored this into our planet for their control systems. It's so overwhelming to think about all of the things that have captured our consciousness and all of the information that we just don't know. And I feel like, when are we going to go ahead?
Another name for Nibiru is the destroyer.
Yeah,
because
that's a great one.
Time it comes back, it brings back all that debris, all those asteroids that are floating around Nibiru, and they often, when they go into our solar system, they are attracted into our gravitational fields of other planets like Earth. And so this destroyer effect caused the ice age, it caused the flood, it caused all sorts of chaos in our planet. And 6.5 or 8,500 years ago, it also caused chaos in this planet. That's why history on this planet only seems to have started in about 4,000 BC, whereas it's a lot older than that. But every time it comes in, it destroys so much of humanity, because when these asteroids hit the ground, they explode. It causes debris to fly into the atmosphere. This debris, dust, causes the sun to be blocked out. The blocking of the sun then gets traveled. This debris, dirt effect, if I call it, goes around the planet and blocks out the sunlight. And because of that, it causes a lot of damage.
And I'm just going to ask everybody to mute one more time. I can't see like the mute on my side. Normally I'm able to mute everybody, but for some reason it's not allowing me to do that. So just double check your mute buttons, please.
Yeah, so that's one aspect of how, the control systems here work. So then there are other aspects of the control system. Now, in 2014, I was told that I'd been doing grid work on the planet for 8 years, and I was told that our grid work had been successful. Now, what our grid work involved was we kind of became proxy stargates, or for the planet, the grid workers, so that energy could flow through us. So we had to be on specific ley lines, and and we were managing certain grid lines, and I was managing the grid line from Basra in Iraq to the Stargate in Antarctica. So that was kind of the field that I was running, and So whatever was happening in Basra, and there was a war on in Iraq at the time, I was feeling it in the sense that I could sense that there was danger. And there's also a Stargate in Iran, which is very quite close to Basra in Iraq. And that is also part of the whole energy grid. That's why Iran is so important. Iraq is to the Earth's planetary grids. So they've caused these wars there so that the restoration of these planetary grids could be thought with and sabotaged. But unfortunately, well, fortunately, they weren't able to do that, and the grid work was successful. And it's just restoring the Earth's grids in a certain geometry, okay? It's almost like a decahedron type of geometry, but I won't get into too much. That might confuse people. But once the geometry of the grid lines was restored, that prepared the way for the solar flare. When the solar flare comes in, it can restore the Earth's energy grids. Because the solar flare will just be a large amount of electromagnetic energy discharged from the galactic central sun through to our sun and then into Earth's planetary grids. And this happens naturally every 25,000 years. It's called an ascension cycle, because the solar system takes approximately 25,000 years to travel around the galactic plane. Okay, so
there's a theory out there that has already happened on another timeline. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there are many timelines. You know, people tend to think of time as a linear line. It's not. Time is just information that's given in a sequence on a wave of light. It's like a fiber optic cable that is used for computers. When you think that way, that information that is held in the light, okay, that information then gets passed around. And so we experience time in that sort of linear sequence, but in actual fact, there are many timelines. So yeah, they're experts, you know, our higher selves are experts at blending timelines in time travel. They can go back in time, forward in time. They've projected me into other time-space continuums so I could experience that, have that experience. And you know, I try not to make it too complicated for people. Otherwise, you know, they kind of become afraid of something they can't understand. But it's actually quite simple when you put it in cell phones and stuff that people can understand. Yeah.
I think you make it super easy to understand. Cindy's asking a question of what is the photon belt? Is that different than the asteroid belt?
The photon belt's just part of our of the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, there are many layers in Earth's atmosphere, and the photon belt is there. It's basically a highly charged magnetic field. It's part of the magnetosphere on our planet, and this magnetic energy attracts energy in, but it also disperses energy because Earth itself is magnetically based. The primary energy on Earth is magnetic. So it has this magnetic field around that is able to filter through harmful rays. And the photons in the photon belt are able to absorb all that energy from the sun and not allow harmful rays to pass through the photon belt.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, I want to focus on moving forward. We've got you know, we're about halfway through our session today. I want to talk about what scenarios are in our future. what do we have at stake? What are the scenarios in our future? This is what you were talking about. So now we have a little bit of a background on the ley lines and the grid work and the timing of how things have come through. So how are we going to be moving forward with these months? How do we stay on the correct timeline?
Yeah, in 2014, I was told that the off-planetary fallen angels, the fallen angelic groups, have been invited to leave our solar system. And they had largely moved out of our solar system, but there's still some who are on Earth. And they're mainly stationed around Antarctica. Antarctica is a very important base, and they are a player in this whole scenario. You get the Antarctica group that are where the Nazis made, the Nazi regime made contracts and agreements with the reptilians to exchange technologies and to create a Germanic colony at Antarctica. But having said that, that's just a small part of it. Other part was in the meetings that Eisenhower had with the Greys at the time. The United States also made agreements with the Greys, the small Greys, to do this technology exchange. And so they did that, and that's when the military-industrial complex began to arise. And because they had the technologies, they were able to create craft, or flying saucers, if you like, but different craft that were able to travel interdimensionally into other star systems using things like wormholes and vortices, because the wormholes between planets and dimensional systems are mapped. You can actually find the maps online of where these wormholes are and how they work. But a wormhole is just, it's like having, you know, when you create a magnet, you put an electric wire around it and you send a current through the wire, and that creates a magnetic field inside that coil. That's how the Tesla coil works. It creates that magnetic field. So because it's a magnetic field, it holds intact anything that is matter-based in that wormhole. And it goes comes from somewhere and it goes somewhere. So you get all these interconnecting wormholes around the galaxy and around the universe, in fact, that you know, these beings can use to travel not only between planets, but interdimensionally as well. So they can go to other dimensional systems. When you've done my course, you'll understand how that works.
Yes, understand it a little better. I've seen recently, I don't know, the grid work I'm doing is not in Antarctica. They have me in other places on planet right now that we're working on, but Antarctica has been coming up more and more in public settings, and I've actually seen pyramids, pictures of pyramids in Antarctica. One of the things that I've noticed in the grid work that we're doing is the reactivation of these pyramidal power points across the planet. Is this part of what you're seeing happening in Antarctica? Are they trying to stop that, or are they trying to actually access it?
Well, what you have now in Antarctica, now let's go back to 2014 when these beings were off planet, fallen ones taken out of our solar system. That left us a small group of fallen angelics on the planet. At the time, and I knew this was going to happen, it was going to create a lot of confusion amongst the cult of Satan on this planet, because they were able to use the energies that these off-planetary fallen ones and satanic beings were able to provide them in order to give them assurances of what they call immortality. But there's a difference between immortality and eternal. Immortality means that beings can be trapped in a time-space continuum, but they can replicate themselves over and over and over and over again in that time-space continuum. So they kind of drop their bodies and enter into another body. And so they become eternal beings, and they retain their memories as they do that. So what happened when the fallen ones off-planet left and the on-planet ones were still left, but you had competing off-planet Earth groups. Now this is going to be tricky to understand because you get the secret space program, okay, and they have bases all around our solar system. They've got a mining operation going in Mars, for instance. They have a landing base on the dark side of the moon, and they have a lot of control over the financial system on the planet, because the financial system as we know it is not the financial system of the universal fields. The financial planet system we have on our planet is it's a fraudulent system based on nothing. It's an illusion, really. And the real finances are the exchange of minerals, technology, and even slaves between off-planetary beings, okay? So a lot of the activities, the financial and economic activities of the fallen races here are done off-planet. And so people say, well, where does all the money come from for these people? They have all the money. They have all the resources. Yeah, they own them. Like the Pope Innocent in 1443 declared several papal bulls where he declared that the Catholic Church owned all the souls on the planet. And it also owned all the land on the planet. and they've been operating as if that is the case. Now, if you don't challenge that from a contractual point of view, if you don't disagree with that, then you are assumed to be compliant with that agreement because you don't disagree. But if you don't know there was an agreement, how can you disagree with something you don't know about? So that's the modus operandi, to keep everybody dumbed down and to hide as much information as possible, to operate in secrecy. They don't want people to be able to empower themselves and become part of the universe again. They want humans to be limited beings with limited amount of information, limited amount of financial resources, a limited economy, and get into this limitation consciousness that people seem to have on the planet. So they've been controlling things in that way. But over the years, our galactic family have been seeding souls from other star systems here. Like, for instance, before I incarnated here, I was on Sirius B.
You froze for a second, Colin. Nope, he got kicked out. He'll come right back in.
I am back again.
Oh, good. There you are.
Good. So there's been a thorough dumbing down of people. And, when I went through that waking up process and going into other dimensional fields and seeing ETs and, and getting to know some of them and talk to them, and they don't talk as we talk, they're telepaths, so they're able to communicate. They can read everything in my mind, everything in everybody's mind, so they have this like communication exchange system all the time where they're getting bits of information. So, you know, we sit and think about stuff, they're just getting all this information coming to them all the time. And so when you travel through that time-space continuum, you get to realize that the world is not the way we've been told it is. And then eventually I came to the conclusion that everything that I had been told about what this world is about is a lie. Everything is a lie. They lie about everything. Religion is a lie. You know, all the religions here are lies. Science is a lie. It's one of the biggest liars, especially medical science, as we've all seen this last year. You know, science is just lies and lies and lies. And they keep us in the dark, for one thing, to control us. Once you are free from, once you freed your mind from their system, the matrix, you are able to move interdimensionally.
Yes.
Now, people aren't encouraged to do that, and it's a scary idea to think you can move interdimensionally. But fortunately, at the time when I was woke up, I came out of the drug culture. So I'd been used to taking LSD and ecstasy and different drugs. I didn't mainline anything. I just, you know, took mind-altering drugs. So when I started to have these experiences, I thought I was just having another trip.
That's so crazy. I never did that because, well, I see things already. So I just, I already knew that I was a little out there. So I didn't need anything to help open my mind, so to speak. But with all of this and with the truth coming out and us connecting back into the truth, right, like us really connecting into who and what we are. Cindy's asking a question, which I think is a relevant question with all of the confusion. Are we evolving into a new species?
Not a new species. Let's put it this way. We are really devolving to our original status. Because humans were known originally as the human angelics.
Yes.
And they were seeded here for a specific purpose, to be the guardians and the stewards of Earth. Unfortunately, they slipped up 27,000 years up. They slipped up really badly. That caused the Earth's grids to be damaged, and then you had you know, Nibiru coming back every 6,500 years, creating chaos on the planet. So you had mass die-outs of people. Now, death to the fallen ones is that they glory in it. They think it's great because it creates a lot of energy, because you get all these souls leaving the body, and all this energy gets put out into the planetary grids. And so that's their feeding field. That's what they're supposed to.
They're feeding frenzy. So that makes me concerned, you know, and we've been seeing mass deaths that are going to be coming. And this is, you know, what I see is that the souls that have already been knocked out of the body, with the bodies still living, I'm seeing that the souls are being protected by the guardians, by our team. So that way they're not going to be siphoned off of. So I don't know what you're seeing there, but it looks like even if, or even though, however you say this, there are going to be mass deaths, they're not going to get their feeding frenzy. Do you see that as what's happening right now?
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, because what they did in 2014, our Soul family, they created an alternative timeline in parallel Earth, because every system has a parallel system. It's like a mirror, you know. That's basically, you get matter and antimatter. we live on a matter planet. Then you get the antimatter version of Earth, which was under the control of the fallen ones, because they had to control the antimatter in order to be able to create control the matter base. So in 2014, the parallel Earth was taken over by our soul families, and they created a new timeline for Earth. So what is happening in the antimatter world is not what is happening on the matter world. And we've talked about this before. There will become a time when they're going to blend the antimatter reality into the matter reality that will create an alternative timeline. So in a sense, we already exist as antimatter in the parallel time spaces. So all those people are going to die here. Their bodies are going to die, but the antimatter body and their soul, antimatter soul bodies will carry forward into the timeline. And when the timelines are merged in the future, then the antimatter soul beings will be reunited with the matter soul beings here, and their bodies will be changed into the bodies that they had before they were corrupted by the fallen angelics. And then it's going to be a very exciting time, because people will be able to telepath, they'll be able to bilocate, translocate, travel around the Earth, travel around the solar system, travel around the galaxy, travel around the universe. And we'll be taught all those technologies, because all those technologies were shut down. Because people used to use stargates to travel. You get Earth stargates, you get solar stargates, you get galactic stargates and universal stargates. And beings would use stargates to move from one plane of existence into another plane of existence. And the stargate would project you through a wormhole to another stargate. So that's how transport worked in the universe. And it still works that way, because the secrets them are using that to transport.
and this is part of the reason why they have satanic rituals, because human beings have the capacity to open stargates. And so they need our energy to open those stargates for them to be able to organically, they have to like create rips and tears in order to move through space-time, is the way that I understand it. Whereas angelic humans have the ability, once we get our mathematical body organized properly and up to being able to function on so many DNA strands, obviously over 2 or 3, which is where most of humanity is. We want to go up to preparing our bodies for that 12-stranded DNA that we are having access to now, which I think is really exciting. Dan is asking, Colin, is this the new Earth that we're referring to, that a lot of people are talking about? Is the new Earth what you just explained in that parallel antimatter matter time?
Yeah, it's a new Earth in the sense that it'll be the old Earth that is transmuted into a different type of Earth. Because people say, often think of ascension as going to heaven. It's not. Ascension is bringing heaven back to Earth.
Yeah.
That's what ascension really is. And it's up to us as the awakened ones here to start to work to do that, to create the vibration, the energy, the consciousness that is able, open-minded enough to say, okay, we agree with this, so we have to enter into new contracts and say we don't agree with what's happening, with our governments and this is what we agree to, and then we enter into new soul contracts, and it's already starting to happen. I mean, you can go online and find all kinds of different soul contracts you can enter into. A guy called Andrew Bartus has got a very good website where you have all these agreements, and you can actually make new agreements, because everything is run on agreements. Agreements are not something unique to Earth. The entire universe is based on agreement, because it's everywhere in the universe you have free will. But what is different with Earth is what we are agreeing to is not disclosed. So they tell us something, they don't tell us what they're actually doing. They give us, and then we comply with what they're doing. And so by complying with it, there are two kinds of agreements. There's complicit agreement and explicit agreement. So we don't explicitly agree, we complicitly agree. So we are entering to the contracts by our complicity.
Yep, beautiful. That's very well said. That's exactly what it is. We more and more are seeing right before our eyes these contracts that we've been complacent with. And I'm really enjoying that. I know still there are so many more that we want to be able to see, because this is where the free will comes in, and this is why things are so stagnant. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And so you can show people, but you can't make them see. And what's interesting is they can't see when we're in certain vibrations, we can't see outside of that vibration. And so for those of us that are in a vibratorial resonance with being able to see these contracts and see what we've been duped into believing, and the way we've been living, is we want to bring these to a resonance that people can see them, so they can go, oh my goodness. And I kind of feel like those of us that have been able to see these are between that and the planet shifting, we're kind of meeting these people in the middle. Like, okay, you're going to vibrate a little higher. The planet's going to keep shifting, and we're just going to keep showing these things. Somehow everyone's meeting in the middle. And this kind of reminds me of that merge you're talking about, the holographic merging. I've been seeing the timelines merge. I know I talk about this like all the time. Just crazy things are happening. Cars appearing out of nowhere that were like not there before. It's really very bizarre what's happening. And it gets so mind-bending. Or you go around the corner and it's like, whoa, was that there before? Or you can't find your keys, and it's not about like a ghost playing a trick on you. We are walking in between timelines, it feels like, all day long. So it's really challenging, I think, to stay focused and, okay, which one am I on today? Or what happens when you walk out the door? Be very mindful. Be careful driving.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about another aspect of what I was told in 2014, and that was that our soul family were depending on us to bring down the fallen angelics who are on planet, and to destroy the satanic systems here on planet. Okay. Yeah. Now, what am I talking about when we're talking about this? The deep state is not just a national thing. It's an international thing. It exists everywhere. Everywhere there is government, where there's law, where there's finance, where there's economies, there's systems, those are all part of a deep state. Now, what is a deep state? A deep state is when a group of beings who are financially connected can afford to bribe, corrupt, and get people in government and in diplomatic positions onto their side. And so they create this narrative around the world that they spout through their mainstream media. It's all propaganda, really. It's a mainstream media, just propaganda. It's a show, it's for a lot of people, it's just entertainment. It's a bizarre kind of entertainment, but they still nevertheless are entertained by it. And the laws on this planet are totally corrupt. They're not a universal law. They're not common law in the universe. The laws on this planet are called the Laws of Maritime Law. And maritime law was devised by the Catholic Church in 1443, when at the same time that Pope Innocent declared the papal bulls, because they devised a system where they would consider humans to be chattel or cattle, and that you were no longer a man of the land because they'd stolen the land from us. We were ships at sea. And so they created the system where they don't tell us this, they don't explain this to us. They just implement law, their law, maritime law, over humans. So humans aren't aware that they're in a totally different legal system than they thought they were. And so it's the ship goes into its berth when it goes to port. What happens to humans when they arrive on the planet? They are birthed.
They're birthed. Yeah.
They go into the dock. Who docks you when you are born? A doctor. You see, so they create this kind of clever narrative, word spells, I call them, where they tell us things, but the real true meaning of what they're telling us is hidden from us. And then once we are birthed, then we are cargo on a ship, and the ship's captain, which is our government, has to hand over a manifest of the cargo. And we are part of that ship's manifest. In other words, we are the cargo on the ship. And once the ship docks at port, the port captain, he's land-based, then assumes ownership of all the cattle. And then we are released into the land, but we're not owned by anybody. We don't own ourselves. We are owned by the port captain. Now, who's the port captain? The port captain is the Catholic Church, the Pope in Rome. So this whole system, and we're given our births are registered. The register comes from the word regus, which is Latin for king. So we are registered into a register, and then the value that we represent is then put into a bond, and that bond is traded on the stock markets of this planet. And you can actually go and find, through your social security number, you can find your bond. This whole planet is a corporatocracy. We think of, judges as being legal professionals. They're not. They're trustees of a corporation. They have duties like trustees in a trust. And it's their duty to ensure that the flow of income, current energy, currency, that flow of currency is passed from humans, men of the land, into their system. So they find us, they cause us to register everything. If you want to fish, you've got to get a license. If you want to drive, you have to have a license. If you want to do anything, you have to have a license. And then it's a money-making machine in order to feed this current energy into their system. And so they've been humans for years.
Yeah, this is the maritime law is one of my I find the most fascinating concepts, and the biggest twist on what a spell actually is, because we didn't speak this way. This wasn't our language. This language isn't our language. It's their language. And we use it every single day, and we are casting spells every single day, all day long. It's very interesting to think about that, because even in our own organic telepathy, we'll still use words. So we're still casting spells on ourselves, even when we're trying to bust out of that. And so I have found, I don't know about you, Colin, but I have found to try to focus in the feeling or the energy or the currency of plasma, rainbow fields, really try to connect into the colors, the vibrations, and the sound that these vibrations emit, and try to connect into how that communicates with my body when I'm trying to heal, and stand in that and allow those currencies to come through when I speak. And it's very challenging, because just innately, here we are chatting away, and these frequencies are picked up. And so it's as if every time we speak, our frequency is lowered, and it's just like, how, are we ever going to get out of that? And Cindy's asking, when we change and make these adjustments, does our soul family benefit from this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we should understand that in the universal order, when you are first, when you come into being consciously, you come into being as a soul, and a soul is just energy that is conscious of itself. So when you become self-aware, that is the first. It's like when you are born as a soul, and you're born along a wave of light and a wave of sound, magnetic and electric energy. And waves come from somewhere and they're going somewhere. So each time they cross over each other at that certain frequency, okay, which is called an harmonic frequencies. It's like two notes on a piano that are in harmony with each other. When they have this harmonic frequency, then they become part of each other. They become part of that symphony of creation. Okay, so when what we do to ourselves affects other beings as well, and not just on the planet but off planet, because the universe is filled with waves of light and sound, electromagnetic waves, and our consciousness directly affects everything else. And one of the things they've cleverly done here is brainwashed people into thinking that they are separated or separate from each other. They're separated from God, or separate from, we have this consciousness that the animals are separate from humans and the fish are separate from humans. But our consciousness directly affects everything around us. Anything that is conscious around us is affected by our thoughts and emotions. So what you were talking about is looking for the sounds, feeling the colors, smelling the smells. All of those are energy things. And so we've got to, disrobe this robe of victimhood and realize how powerful we really are as beings. But it's just that our consciousness has been trapped into a system that keeps us limited, and keeps us limited in terms of our thoughts and consciousness. And it also blinds us to what we actually see. So people don't actually see what they see. And when I first woke up, I realized that I'd spent 53 years of my life living and doing what humans do without seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really see what was happening. I was blind. When I was conscripted into banking and I was taught how to, rob governments of millions of dollars of tax, because that's what I did it as a banker, and so I learned how to do that. So I did it, but I didn't see that what I was doing. I didn't realize, I thought, well, that's how I earn my income. So so it must be okay if I make a good living out of it.
Mhm.
You know, and many things I didn't see. I didn't see what was happening in the church. I didn't see what was happening in society. I didn't see what was happening in the legal system. I'd been stripped of all cognitive, abilities. And that's the biggest disease on this planet, is called cognitive dissonance, that
Yeah.
we are no longer able to see what we see, not able to experience what we actually experience, because we conditioned to respond in certain ways instead of responding from our hearts and from our authentic selves. You know, we taught that if someone has died, we've got to go to their funeral, and we've all got to look somber and miserable, and, you know, do the nice things about, you know, saying sorry to the family, and going to the after funeral party, or dinner or tea or whatever they have. And once you get out of that system, you look at this and you think, these people are crazy.
Exactly. It's exactly. And then you have fewer and fewer people that you can actually communicate with and hold conversations with. And when we're wrapped in cognitive dissonance and victimizer programming, boy, we sure do fight to the death to hold that which we cannot see as truth, and we just don't want to let it go. So
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating as well, to be
Yeah.
able to witness that. Mhm.
Now, what is likely to play out on this planet? Okay, now our soul family are here to assist us to get to reveal the fallen ones. But there's also a group of people on this planet who are called the Earth Alliance, and they have direct contact with what are called the Guardian Alliance. These are a collection or a collective of different ET, higher dimensional beings who have connections with Earth, direct connections. Some, like my higher self, contacted me, you know, from Sirius B, taught me all this stuff because he was concerned with humanity. They love humanity. And so he directed me, taught me, mentored me, helped me in crazy ways to really try to come to grips and understand what I was experiencing, you know, with him. And so I had to go through that process of stripping away the old and becoming the new, and forming a different consciousness. And it was crazy times sometimes, you know, because some crazy things happened to me. Not only off planet, but on planet as well. Like I would experience the spontaneous healing, and I would think of somebody and I'd walk around the corner and they'd be there.
Yeah.
How the hell does that work?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And so I began to realize that we live in a universe of information, and we are transferring information all the time into the universal fields, into the Earth's grids, into all the beings around us. So, you know, we've forgotten our connection to nature, and how nature is there to nurture us, and how we are nurtured by nature, you know, because we eat the things that nature provides us. The air is there to nurture us, because we breathe the air all the time. It's not air that we're actually breathing, it's called ether, you know, which is life force energy. We can't see this life force all around us, and we are part of it. We're not separate from it.
Yeah.
It's one big universal system. So in the beginning, I had a real difficulty, like even being able to say, I am God, because I wasn't God. I'm not God, but I am. So you have that dilemma that you have to work through and say, I have to be God to myself, and I have to be God to everyone else. Now, how do you do that? And that's the challenge that we're facing here. And
That's
we
a
do
big
it
one.
through our thoughts and our emotions, through our standards and values, through our attitudes, through our words and actions, you know, and that's what it means to be holy. It's WHOLLY, whole. And we live in a holograph where every part of the holograph has all the information about the rest of the holograph. And that's a scientific fact. When you
Yes.
take a holograph that's produced and you cut it in half, both halves hold the full image of the hologram. So we are so separated. Now, in the coming months, we're going to be challenged in many different ways. But just bear in mind that we're not alone, and that our soul family saw this coming a long time ago, 1945, when we set off bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they
No big
decided,
deal.
they decided to directly intervene here. They've been sending beings like myself from Sirius B, and there are many others from other space-time continuum, Pleiades, Andromedans, Arcturians, you know, and that they are incarnated here on Earth as souls in Earth bodies, and many of them are going to wake up. And that when we receive that solar flash that Corey Good talks about and other people talk about, that solar flash is all about information, and information is energy. So everyone's going to have that sudden awareness that is created. They realize, I'm not what I thought I was. Everything around me is not what I thought it was. And it's like a big download of information. And I was told that when that happens, every one of us will be assigned a guardian angel, a guardian who will help us, mentor us. We're going to a kind of quarantine period where we have to learn to reconcile with this new information, reconcile ourselves with each other, with the facts, with our past. Because when we realize who we are, we're going to have a really hard time reconciling our past, because our past, you know, is going to haunt us if we don't know how to deal with it. And once we understand
Go ahead.
that the past is past, it's gone.
Yeah, it is, and it immediately shifts you onto the trajectory that we want to be on. Liz is bringing up a good point. We have solar flashes all the time, or solar flares all of the time. And I also see solar flashes, and the way that I see them is an awareness of light. And I call it like the Christ waking up within. Like you could take, I could step out of this room and all of a sudden be a new person. I don't know when that information, nobody knows when that's going to rise within them, when all of a sudden, and you can have these in little increments too. All of a sudden you're going to be like, you'll know, I feel different. And you know, all of a sudden more information has come into you. It happens in a moment. You turn your head and in a moment you are different. And that being said, the solar flash that Corey Good talks about and that you're mentioning sounds to me similar to when, I don't know if those of you are familiar with Lisa Renee, but it sounds familiar, and I'm not going to speak for any of these people, but when she says that souls will be taken to another planet, specifically maybe Pleiades, where there's no polarization. So they'll be relearning how to be human without the polarity, which many people are still going to need to be able to do. And so it kind of sounds like that's what you're sharing when you say they'll be given a guardian angel. It sounds like that. So maybe it's not a different star system that they go to, or maybe that is a part of like how it works here when we wake up. And I don't know, there's, I think so many, what I think is so interesting is that there are a lot of seers you, myself, Corey, Lisa, all these people, and we all see different pieces of things, and it takes so many of us to come together and make sense and put the pieces together. Like, for instance, I see a lot of people in the Taurus constellation, which is the Pleiades, and I see them coming in as walk-ins. And so I'm like, well, I see all of these people coming in, and it's like what you're talking about, the solar flash, in a sense that these walk-ins could be coming in all of a sudden in an instant. It's an aspect of your higher self or another soul that has taken over. Maybe you were going to drop your body, and all of a sudden here you are, a new person going, everything is not as it was. And now I've got a little hop in my step, right? Like, because you kind of know what's going on. I don't know. There's different ways to like look at the same thing, I think.
Yeah, the new Earth is going to be totally different in that we will have all the information. We will remember our soul families. You will remember your soul twin. You will remember your twin flame. You remember your soul mates. You will remember your soul families. You will remember your soul groups. And these soul groups may be stationed in other time-space continuum. So they might come and say, look, hey, come hang out with us here in the Pleiades. And you might go out and hang out with them for a while, you know. It would be a totally different world. And the thing is, if we're not able to imagine it, we're not able to create the
reality,
the metadata. Okay, what creates an image in a hologram? It's the metadata. It's the data behind the picture that you're seeing that is produced by the computer. And if you're able to imagine something bigger and more all-encompassing and not so strange, because I think many of us actually know this stuff. We've just forgotten it.
Yeah.
And once I got into it, I started to remember. And when I started to remember, it was very challenging because it challenged everything that I knew before. And so when you start to remember who you are and what you are, that you've got, you know, members of your soul family in different time space continuum, and you can go hang out with them. You know, that's a crazy notion. But
it is. And it's cool. It's cool when you can do that. It's really fantastic. And to meet an aspect of your higher self, of who you are, maybe in a different body, maybe you look the same, maybe you look a little bit different. It's really fantastic to experience. And I think that's why children have a bigger imagination, because they remember. That's a great point, Cindy. Yeah, children are very connected to where they came from. And then it's kind of washed out of them because a lot of parents, you know, they don't know how to nurture the imagination because they themselves have lost it. So,
yeah.
Wow. Well, Colin, we are like an hour 20. We're at an hour 20. Can you believe it? So of like this conversation, not of us trying to get online and chat together. So Colin and I have been at this for over 2 hours this morning.
Yeah.
So
you might want to rethink posting this as it is to Facebook.
Like
because,
this.
Yeah, because I don't think Facebook police are going to be very happy.
No, they're not going to be very happy. So yes, for all of you here moving forward, it looks like this is going to be a good way for us to do our shows, and we will repost them. I'll be able to post them on Facebook, you know, from YouTube onto Facebook. So we're going to do it this way. I think moving forward, it's going to make a lot more sense. And I'll put a note of that on my Facebook and make some adjustments and see how that goes. All right, you guys, thank you so much for everybody for being here. Yeah.
I just wanted to say this is wonderful. And there's so many people. I know Becky Gill, she's out in Florida, and there's so many people that we can invite that are awakening. And
Yeah.
I think this is a wonderful way that we could share, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. And I look forward to joining your classes too, Colin. I'll do that tonight. Looking forward to
Great.
talking to you more. Thanks so much. Love you all.
Yeah.
Love you
Much
all.
love to you guys.
Yeah,
So
I so
we'll see
appreciate
you.
you stayed so long.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Now, if I can
Bye.
figure out how to turn it off. Oh, there it is.